back to the Chappy Bengals Podcast. Today on the slate, we got a Week 12 spread of games to get into here. Pretty fiery Thursday night game that we want to discuss here, the Snow Globe game down in Cleveland. That was a beautiful sight to see. We got some best bets going into this week, some spicy picks, some parlays to put together for you guys. We're going to review some of the lines, kind of give you guys the information so that you too can make some of the picks that you need on the weekend. But yeah, let's kind of start. Let's get into that Thursday night game, Jeff. What'd you think of that?
Just incredible. It's probably what a way to kick off the holiday season. Just incredible. Like
pretty wild.
Yeah, just it literally, you said it best. It is the Snow Globe games that are just phenomenal, man. Like someone was just shaking that shit up, getting it rolling. I saw a clip on I think it was like TikTok or something, and it was like 10 minutes like between different things. So it's like there's a bunch of people going to their seats, and it's just like it's definitely snowing. It's that big fluffy snow, but then it's like 10 minutes later, and it's just a fucking like whirlwind blizzard of that fluffy shit, and just incredible. So no, I just that's football, man. Like, oh, is your lighting fucked up?
We're running this pod, and I'm like, we got the lighting set up now. It's daytime. And then you get the sun coming in through the side door here, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. Prime time, just darken the mood on me. But yeah, back to this game here. Pretty crazy. I don't think you get too many of these snow games anymore. Not to mention half the games are played indoors now, so it's like,
yeah, no, and that's the best part about like, especially the AFC North. Like, just fucking everyone's got a fucking opportunity like that to play in the snow, and it's just gritty fucking football. It's hard nosed, it's on the ground. That was one thing that kind of shook me about the game, is like it was just that different element of what the snow was that allowed the passing game. Like Russell Wilson still went for 270 yards in the air. Like it was just an element that, and it just looked fucking incredible. Like at one point, the kicker, Boswell, like a field goal that goes through, and the camera that it got captured. Oh man, I was like, did that even fucking go in? I don't even know. And then
the announcers, you couldn't even see it on the TV. These guys are like, I guess it's good.
Threw it up. I'm like, sure.
Camera guys trying to zoom in on the shot. It's like, hey, buddy, you could get in there as much as you want. We're not seeing it.
You can't
see
shit. Like, I don't even think he went on the right side of it. He was going right. I think the ball was actually going on the left, and he's just I don't know.
Refs are looking up at it like,
yeah, they're just like,
it's good, guys.
That's the one.
We're gonna call that.
This guy doesn't miss, sure. So it's gonna go with it.
It's crazy, man. But it's like you're saying, man. It's end of November here. We're getting towards Christmas time. You just did the whole get the Christmas tree going thing with the family today. And it's like, it's that time of the year. Like, you can't beat that, man. You got a Thursday night game in the snow. You got the Christmas decorations going now. It's that time of year. Who doesn't love that time of year? So
no, it's beautiful.
Amazing sight to see. And within the game itself, man, a couple shout outs here. Jerry Jeudy. Very clutch these last couple games. I wanted to mention that. I know he's had a bit of a tumultuous career so far. And I was talking to you about how he was on Denver. Denver's been dog shit. Gets traded from Denver. Denver starts playing better this year. And then Cleveland, on the other hand, they were great. Last year made the playoffs. This year, they're a dumpster fire. So rough start for him, but he's been showing out last couple weeks, and he was clutch on those last couple drives. So shout out to him, man, for showing up. But aside from that, in the game, Cleveland, big dub there. That's probably their Super Bowl for the season. You know,
big, massive game for the division. I think that was the biggest takeaway. And like, I sent a text to my one group chat and was like, "Yo, this is huge." And then obviously it got going like, "Oh, you think they've already won this, eh?" And then like Pittsburgh scores probably within the next like fucking 3 minutes. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And then Cleveland pulls it out at the end of that. But that was just, there's so many implications to your season within that game.
Absolutely.
Especially as a Bengals fan. Like there is, I think I saw it. If you win the next 6 games, there's a 94% chance that the Bengals will make the playoffs. So
It's so
That's
funny when
the
you
current
say
slate of
these
things.
stats because it's like we can't even win the game in front of us. So that shit it just doesn't even mean anything to me. Every week, I swear I go on Twitter and I'm following all the Bengals fans, and every week after the loss, it's
They're
like
as
this
delusional as
emotional
you.
spiral after the game. It's like, fuck this team, I give up on them. And then the hope starts to come back in. And then everyone's doing the playoff chances and doing like, okay, if we win this stretch of games, I'm like, guys, we can't even close out the one game that we have in front of us.
Yeah.
Let's like, at what point do you go,
Tough
okay,
loss
okay,
on
guys?
Monday. Yeah.
Like, yes, statistically, we still have a shot, but like,
Yeah.
we're gonna need a lot of things to go our way, and we're pretty much gonna
No,
win out.
everything has
We
to
don't
go
have
your
an
way at
option.
this point.
Yeah,
The crazy part to this so far right now is Burrow is having a phenomenal season. We talked about it. Big media has talked about it too. But the biggest thing for me right now is if Burrow and Chase start to have any kind of regression in this season from what they've been putting up right now, it flips a switch to then have the
yeah,
defense
absolutely.
have to really, really turn this shit around in order for that to be the case. And I don't think Burrow and Chase are actually going to have a bad tail to the season, but there's a couple divisional games. There's some good defenses. It's going to be a tougher thing to kind of make happen. But that's the biggest thing right now is you need to have that consistency. You've had that incredible consistency so far through week 12 up to week
Yeah,
12 in the offense. Now you have to carry that through to the rest of the year and hope and pray that the defense comes around here. And that's something
yeah,
that I just don't, unfortunately, I don't foresee happening with this crew. They're just like they played a great
yeah.
second
You're not.
half with the defense,
Yeah.
but holy fuck, like they just can't find it. I don't know what it
Well,
is.
it's
They
always
really need help there.
you look at like it's the little things. It's always one thing or the other, right? Like to win football games, you need all three phases of the game, and you need to have them working with each other. Like it doesn't matter one game it's like our defense doesn't show up, another game our special teams are kicking is awful, and then one week like our offense doesn't show up. Like they're just not working together, and that's the unfortunate thing is we're kind of at this point where we need a lot of shit to go our way. But I will say this Pittsburgh game is literally it's lights out if you do not win this game. So
Yeah.
we're gonna see. You got everything. You got your season on the line here, and then you got a stretch of like games that you can win. You got a banged up Dallas Cowboys team. You got a spiraling Tennessee Titans team. You get the Broncos, which is huge for playoff implications. You got the
Yeah.
Browns who are beat up. Like you got a stretch that you can win, but it all starts with that Pittsburgh game, and we got to make kicks. We got to play defense, and I will say, if Burrow and Chase are playing like this and the offense is humming, I don't need the defense to be lights out. I just need them to get some turnovers and steal some possessions for us. That's all we
Mm-hmm.
need. That's all we need. And in that Chargers game, we had a couple of them and we fucked up on the special teams aspect where we couldn't make the kicks. That was our game, but we're just shooting ourselves in the foot when it comes down to the wire. So if we can steal possessions rest of the way throughout the season, I think we're going to have a good showing here down the stretch. But like I said, it comes down to execution at the end of the day, and we'll see. But this division, man, we talked about Pittsburgh and how they got a stretch going here. So we're going to see what this team is made of. So far, they beat Baltimore, just lost this one to Cleveland. And that's tough. Big emotional game against Baltimore, and then short week against Cleveland. It happens in the league. But it's going to be an interesting finish to the season here. I just want Joey B to climb himself into the MVP conversation. So start rattling off some wins, and I think that could be a conversation to be had. But
Well,
we'll see how
absolutely. I
she
think it
goes.
is. Yeah, and we'll kind of. I know we have the Bengals right now on a bye week, and you got your Bengals fix on this fucking podcast, so that's great.
I need
The
I
other
need a
side of this,
break, man. I need
yeah,
a break from the emotional roller coaster. So thank God I got a bye week here this week.
we did. We did have one of our memes go off. We did put out a poll there. Over 700 responses came through. 60% believe that Joe Burrow should be in the MVP conversation. So
Absolutely.
that is
Absolutely.
one takeaway. It is tagged to the AFC North. We had a bit of Pittsburgh. We had a bit of Baltimore fans in there. No Cleveland fans showed up. That's fine. They showed up for the game the other night, and they did it in great
That's all
fashion.
that
So
mattered.
we'll take that. But just as a little shout out to Play Action Nation for putting those poll results in. So appreciate that.
Love that.
But
yeah, thank you
yep.
guys. Now, before we get into kind of some of the slate of games we got for the weekend, let's kind of go over some of the trending news in the league, in and around the league. I want to get your thoughts here, Jeff, and you guys out there as well. Just kind of like, first, we're going to start off with the Daniel Jones news that came out the other day, and how the Giants are kind of handling that and how that entire situation has gone. I know from my perspective, it's pretty wild to just give your quarterback the snips mid-season like that. Dude did a whole press conference of like, basically a
did you read
I'm
up
like,
on
what?
exactly how this transpired? Because it's been fucking fantastic. They've essentially, so they had him obviously get benched. It was clear to motion what was happening there. He then
know why he's benched now too, though.
We know exactly
of the stipulations in the contract and this and that too, right?
So that's all there, right? Like anyone can make that kind of point A, point B, but then obviously what's come of this right now is the entirety of the like contract situation, but then he goes out and plays safety for his scout team, which is wild.
Team safety.
And then he's just out there playing around. Then the team asks him to go out and write this fucking letter. And so he writes this letter.
The team asked him
the team asked him. So then ESPN rips on the Giants, and obviously the whole Daniel Jones situation was like, what the fuck is this about? Then the Giants then go and rip on ESPN and say like, hey, what the fuck? Like stop this. We have asked him to do this. And then ESPN doubles down on, no, this is fucking brutal. Why would you ask a guy who you're paying this amount of money to go out and do this and make a fool of himself, basically have this apology letter in the middle of the season? Yeah, understandable. He's been a class act through this, but what are we doing here? And what are you guys doing? And then fucking within 24 hours, they release him after that. So it was like this whole timeline of absolute bullshit that goes on here. And yeah, like that's the nervousness behind like, what the fuck are they doing? They did the Saquon thing in the offseason, which was wild take. Then they've gone and done this with Daniel Jones. They're clearly in a rebuild. That's fine. But the steps that they're taking to go through this rebuild and not getting much out of anything back, like this is just fucking wild. Like wild. Like how can you get Deshaun Watson out of that situation? And I'm not saying at the time the relative like quarterback fucking skill set was the same with Daniel Jones, but like something of that nature. And then you come into this situation, get absolutely fuck around with it. It's a bad stain on what's been going on. Like the Giants are a great organization, and especially from the Eli Manning days. Well, they have they had a fucking good spell. They had a good now lately. No, I would say they're fucking really fumbling, but they have history and they've had a good organization. And this is just kind of like
Dallas Cowboys have a history too, pal. Doesn't mean they're a good fucking organization right now. No. Everybody's got a history. Yeah. It's current
there's peaks and valleys in all things, right? But I just find it so peculiar what they're doing, how they're doing it, and just the way about this Daniel Jones situation was just so odd that it's like, you deserve every bit of the part that you're getting ripped on here.
It was pretty sad to see, man. Like a guy has to go up there and give a speech about that. Like it's okay. We got to look at number one, the football player first. Yeah, Daniel Jones obviously hasn't lived up to expectations, but at the same time, the Giants were the idiots that just went out there and handed him a bag off of like 1 year where he had a playoff win against the Vikings. Like that's where they hired Daboll. They brought him in there. The team had success. They won a playoff game. And then after that, they gave him the bag right away. And that in itself was just like, what? What have we seen to be eliciting this payday for Daniel Jones here? That was right off the bat a head scratcher. And then you got a guy like Saquon Barkley, who you know is the talent of this team. That is a piece that you pay and you build around because of the talent that you have there. And we saw in this offseason what happened with that. They let him walk out the door. And it's like, we talked about this before, where it's just like, how many times can you fuck this up? Like it's crazy right now. And that now they got a guy like Malik Neighbors in there. So they're gonna have to draft a quarterback. And obviously it's Shadur Sanders watch here now for the Giants, because they're clearly tanking. They went in, and you got Drew Lock now coming out saying he should be the starter, but they don't want to start him because he's also got stipulations in his contract where if he hits incentives, he gets paid X amount of dollars. Like, that's fucking sad. This team's afraid to pay like $750,000 to a guy who could be a bridge quarterback for the time being too, which is, if you don't land one in the draft, that's the route you're taking. So at least see what you got, and you're afraid to spend a little bit of money on that. Like, come on. I don't know what this organization is doing, but they clearly got to start over here, and it's sad to see. You're seeing a lot of this from the NFL right now, a lot of this. But yeah, sad for Daniel Jones, man. Saquon Barkley came out and he said, I have found success outside of New York, and hopefully he can do the same. So we'll see how that goes. But next topic. We're staying in the New York market here now. So increased odds that Mr. Aaron Rodgers is going to be placed on IR for the rest of the season. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I just saw that too, and then there was another report that came through about the that he doesn't want to play with the Jets next season, and it's like, bro, like I don't have any words for the craziness that goes on in your head. But like, holy,
he doesn't really have like, dude, it's not your show anymore, man. Like, you were an amazing quarterback in this league, and you had Pohl going to the Jets and this and that, and they tried, but it's just, you're not the same guy. Kudos to the Jets, because you know what? They went out there and they did everything possible. They got the quarterback, obviously rough with the injury last year, but they did that. They went and got Devontae Adams to just see what they could do here at the end. And unfortunately, it's just failed. But I'm not going to knock a team and an organization for at least trying to put all the chips on the table there. But now I think we've come to the point where we realize they're going to cut ties with him, and they're going to move on, and they're going to have to start this again. And it's just tough to see, because the Jets, I feel like they've been doing this for like the last 10 years at least, man.
I know that the whole situation is wild, man. The Jets, there was a chirp that, hey, kick us while we're down, on one of the things that we posted, and I said, hey, listen, it's been 10 years and counting for the kicks. Yeah.
But I will say the last thing on the Jets topic here with Aaron Rodgers, they fired the general manager too, Joe Douglas, and if you look at the draft pedigree, I don't think that was necessarily the problem. They brought in a lot of talented players over the course of the years that he was there managing the roster. It's just how they've been coached and how it's translated.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. They're doing a whole overhaul here. This is going to be a completely different Jets team come next year. So
yeah,
wild to say we were sitting here start of the year going Jets. They're going to be the team to watch in this division, and wow, that's why you love football.
I don't know if I was on that. If I was on that boat,
you weren't. I was. I definitely was. I was riding, buddy. I was leading the pack with that.
You really were. You were in love with the Jets.
I didn't think they could fuck this up, but it is the Jets. So
it is the Jets. Unfortunately, that's the goddamn Jets.
Next quick topic I want to touch on here. Did you see the flex in the schedule there? Broncos Chargers flex. I can't. Well, it's great for us because they flexed our game out of Thursday night, because we already played a Thursday night game. But we talked early in the season about like the schedules, the short weeks, this and that.
Yep.
I hate it personally. I hate it for the players. We're all about the player safety aspect of things and giving them the rest and recovery they need to go out there and put a good product on the field. So when I look at this, imagine you were a fan and you had purchased tickets to these games, and you had hotels and shit like that, and they just flex a game out. Like, imagine you had tickets to that Sunday to see the Broncos Chargers game. You're fired up, and they flex it to a fucking Thursday night. Like, could you imagine that? The league just has too much power being able to pull shit like this, like mid-season. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. No, it definitely, I don't know. I'm half and half on this. Like, it's
It's all
it can go,
ratings and bullshit TV stuff now. Like
it
it's
is.
nonsense.
It is, but it can go both ways. Like if there is something that pops up, like they've always had this ability, and same with every major sports league. Any kind of event can be shut down or for whatever reason, right? And now obviously in the past it's been heavy weather related, or
Mm-hmm.
hurricane seasons that have hit in different spots in the lower half of the states, and just there's always going to be this opportunity where something like this can happen. Now it's wild to have that happen without that, for sure. But I'm never really like, sometimes you do have to manage things. So I'm not as on the other side of this as maybe you
I
are.
just like the flexing and stuff like that. It's just too much. And with like, you got all the like the TV and all the rights to these games, all this shit
Yep.
being tossed around, and then you get like player safety neglected. I'm like, man,
Yeah, it's fair.
just the players and the scheduling and the rest advantages, like all this stuff plays a role in the game, and to just flex a game in there and kind of screw up scheduling and different things like that, it's like, geez. All right, league doesn't give a shit. They're all business. All
Yeah, it
business
is
around here.
business, man. That I think that's the number one thing that, as fans, we often forget that this is a fucking $1 billion industry, and it is an entertainment industry, really and truly, when it breaks down to it. So I'm not shocked, and that's probably why I'm just kind of like not really all that.
Yeah,
It is
you
what
can't
it
be
is what it
shocked.
is. And like when these decisions get made, yeah, like there can be some impact to this stuff, the season wise. Maybe some teams are like, what the fuck? But in the grand scheme of things, like a yes is a yes and a no is a no. And when these things get put in place, like, no one's going to really fucking have the winning argument here aside from the league. So
Yeah,
that's the way I look at this. It's just kind of when that old saying, it is what it is. Fucking roll forward, get it going.
Facts. All right, so that's kind of some of the around the league trending topics, some of the big things we wanted to touch on. Let's get into this Sunday's slate of games. And this week 12, we're already at week 12, which is crazy. These seasons are getting faster and faster, man. But we got some. I always looked at the early slate of games, not the prettiest. You don't got too many big competitive matchups this week. And with some of the injuries, I know San Fran's missing Purdy now. He's been ruled out. Same with Nick Bosa. That Packers game got a little bit different there. And then I think we also had Devontae Smith ruled out for the Eagles. And that'll kind of play into some of my picks, at least later on. But what we want to do is we want to kind of present you with some of the stats, the metrics here, to give you guys some insight on who to take and who to put on your cards this weekend. But some things we wanted to do with this episode, I specifically wanted to go, me and Chappy over here, we're going to go with a team. We're going to pick a team for you guys. Okay, then we're going to take a best bet. And then what we're going to do is we're going to roll with a parlay card of at least 3 props for you guys. And then we're going to stack that up against each other, coming down to the review after the weekend is over. So how you feel about that, Chappy? Starting to put things together for the audience out here.
I love it. Let's see it happen.
Let's line it up. First game.
I don't know so far on the podcast on your record, but we'll see. And I don't want to talk too much shit because my record is decent on the pod. Other than that, it's been a lovely season so far.
Well, now for you guys out there, we're going to give you a running tally here so you can actually keep up with how we're doing with our picks.
We got to do that.
We got to hold ourselves accountable at the same time.
Absolutely.
If you guys have any plays you like, you can throw them in the comments. We want to see what you guys are taking this weekend as well. So throw them out there. But let's start off with this first game here. Chiefs-Panthers. This looks like an interesting game because the line is only -11. And for me, this just looks like a bounce back game from KC, and they're going to be hungry for a win here. So what do you see looking at this Panthers-Chiefs game immediately? What stands out?
So first thing that stands out is Carolina has just not been a good team this season.
No, they have
the
not.
biggest thing for me was that point spread. They have not been able to cover a line that is over 10 points on the spread that Vegas gives out. So there were 2 opportunities so far this season in both situations on plus 10 and plus 13. They were able to get smoked. So they did not cover that. So I love that. I think on the flip side of this, the Chiefs had not had a game over 10 points that they've covered. So we've got 2
they've been playing
teams
a
that
lot
are
of
in an
one-score
interesting
games.
spot. The Chiefs against the spread this year are 4-5-1. Carolina is 3-7. So
Nice.
what I'm going to do
Someone's
here,
adding
though,
one to the win column here, though.
someone's adding one to the win column. I think just given all the situation with what's happening with the Panthers, there's some injury stuff going on with the Panthers as well. I think, like you said, the Chiefs just got a little bit of a humble check coming out of Buffalo last week. This is going to be a game where they're going to want to put up some points. The market on the money line right now is minus 649. They fully expect this team to win. I expect them to win by more than 11 points. I'm locking in Kansas City on the points. The other one that I'm going to lock in as well on the prop bet is I'm going to actually fade the under on Kareem Hunt's attempts in this game. Now, the reason being, I think this game is going to go in the air. There are clear skies in North Carolina, and we are going to expect some balls to be thrown. Mahomes has had a down year. I think for him alone, this is one of those games that he wants to lead, show up, and make an example out of things. And so that's the stats that I'm running with. I don't think he gets nearly the carries. Also, just throughout the season, on that carry attempts, that has not hit with frequency from the point of Carolina's defense. So that line has been inflated all year long to compensate for Carolina being trash on the run game, but only 2 players have actually hit that this season on that rush attempt line. So I'm going to fade the under here, and clear skies, love it. Let's put the ball in the air. Mahomes, I need you, man. We got a season-long ticket here. I need you to start throwing some fucking tutties. So
yeah, serious. We talked about this too. I think they're going to force some balls here. Like, they had a rough week offensively last week against Buffalo. That's got to be frustrating. You got a season where people are talking about everybody but Patrick Mahomes. And I know he's not that type of player, nor does he care. He has enough rings to not give a shit about those comments. But at the same time, I do think he has an opportunity to come out here and force some plays and score some points. This is going to be the easiest matchup for him he's had all season. And this is a big get-right spot for them. And like Jeff said, fading the Kareem Hunt line, the funny thing is, you look at what everybody's saying, Kareem Hunt this is the best spot for an RB this week, I think, based on the matchup. Carolina is 32nd overall in run defense. Kareem Hunt's line is 73.5, and then 18.5 on the carry line. But like Jeff said, you can just see when Patrick Mahomes wants to force plays through the air, and I know they're going to be busting that out. So I'm going to lean more towards the overs on some of the Patrick Mahomes props here. And kind of stay away from the rushing on the Kareem Hunt side. It does look far too easy for me. And I think they're going to force some of the plays Mahomes' way for sure. Kelsey's going to have a bigger day. And Mahomes is going to I think he's going to be throwing 2+ TDs at least. And he's going to be forcing some throws for sure. So I'm going to be taking Patty Mahomes on the completions at least. And I'm going to take him for 2+ touchdowns as well. And we'll see how that goes. I mean, it could go either way, but I'm not touching any of the Carolina stuff. And the minus 11, I mean, if the Chiefs don't cover that, this just feels like the perfect spot for them to put up some points, considering all their games have been close. So I'm going to roll with that too.
You imagine Carolina just comes out and beats the fucking Chiefs here?
It's the NFL, right? Like, we could sit here and
entertainment
say
product,
so
baby.
easy.
Yeah,
it looks so easy every
has
week,
to be
and
there.
then shit happens, right? Like, imagine he struggles. That'd be wild. But I don't see that happening, man. This is going to be
even just to your point there, the pass attempts in even in the games against Carolina, right? Like Vegas was 40. Cincy actually went 31, which was a little strange. Chicago 29. Atlanta 30, Washington 25, Denver though 37 because Bo Nix has just been throwing the ball lately. And then the Giants again last week even 37 attempts from Daniel Jones. So the ball does get thrown, and I think there is an opportunity there where these lines kind of come through. We'll see. I think it's a good target on that. The split has actually faded the rush more. So we'll see if that comes through. But I think this is just one of those games that Patty just wants to come out and say, yo, you know what? We're going to lead us to a victory here, and I'm going to be the one to do it. So let's I like your plays there. Cool.
Yeah. Well, we're on the same page for the first game. Now let's bounce into our next game we got here. Why don't you go ahead, Jeff? What game you want to talk about next?
Why don't we go to the Lions Colts? Because this team has been a fucking wagon all season long so far. What a fucking...
Yeah, we love talking about the wagon that is the Detroit Lions this year.
The Detroit Lions,
the 50 burgers they've been laying, man. It's crazy.
And you know what? That's the greatest line that you could have ever said, because the over right now in this game is set at 50, and I'm on the over. So we are going to roll with that 50 burger. I do not think there's a lot of stuff going on with this game right now. Kind of just a lot of conversation. The Colts are getting more love in this game as it kind of gets into tomorrow's lines. This line continues to actually come back for Detroit on the money line. The spread has kind of stayed the same. However, I do like the line right now at 50. That's come down a bit. I think this game, just given the scenarios that have unfolded over the last couple weeks, the Lions are just on a fucking tear, man. And I think the two things for me would be either the spread or the over, but I like the over in this situation. They're putting up points. Both the Colts have had some pretty big games last couple weeks here as well. The offense is definitely going on their side as well. And if we look at the Lions, that is their entire identity right now, is just absolutely destroying teams with the ball and on offense, and just a well-rounded offense altogether. So given the fact that they were in Jacksonville, I do think they're not going to put up 52 points again. However, I do think that we're probably going to look towards the 25 to 30 mark. And I do think that the Colts, if we're in that 7.5 range on the spread, that puts us also kind of within that target. So I do like between the two teams, maybe it's a 30-23 game or something like that. And that to me is really, really tight. But it does cover that. So I like the points there. For the prop bet, I like the over on Jared Goff's rushing yards. This has happened in every single game. 2.5. Yeah. I like the 2.5. The Colts are actually ranked number or last in quarterback rushing attempts and yards. So on that front, I'm going to run with that, pun intended. And I do think that generally, if we look back at all the seasons, there was one loss for CJ Stroud on one carried attempt. That was a -10. And there was a -4 for Mitchell Trubisky. So those are the two guys that have fallen under that mark. Every single other quarterback this season has hit that mark. I expect Jared Goff, just with how dynamic this offense is, to be able to pull one of those out as well and get a couple yards. So that's my take.
Interesting. Funny enough, with this game, I sent you a post because we were talking about like the line on this game being 7.5. And you look at it, it's like, okay, yeah, Jared Goff and Detroit, they aren't the best road team. Generally, they put up the big points at home. But it's a domed stadium as well. This is where Goff flourishes. And there was the whole comments at the start of the year going, draft the Detroit Lions players in your fantasy because Goff only plays like 3 outside games, 2 outside games, something like that. And we all know he's a lot better inside. So when I look at the line, 7.5, I'm like, these guys have been just just blowing the doors off of these teams. And Indy is not, by no stretch of the imagination, anything great or spectacular. So when I see that line, it looks like the easiest I'm taking the Lions side ever. But I sent you that post, and it's Josh Downs on a podcast, and he was talking about how this game's going to be a lot closer than people think. And we love that shit because then it gets you thinking. It's like, all right, what kind of shit do they got up their sleeve? But when I look at this Lions secondary, the first bet that I'm going to be taking, and this will be across my cards, is Josh Downs on the receiving yards. Lions have one of the worst secondaries in the league. They've given up tons of points to opposing receivers. And just to kind of give you some numbers here, 188.7 yards to the wide receiver position, which is currently second. And they also just lost one of their corners, Terry and Arnold, for the game as well. And I expect them, if Detroit's going to score some points, then Indy's going to have to throw the ball. And Downs has been playing great. And his line is only 55.5 receiving yards. So that's going to be the first prop I take in this game. And then I'm also going to take Detroit on the line because I just trust what they're doing. And I don't think the Colts are going to be able to hang with this team, personally. So
on the spread or on the money line?
On the spread. On the spread.
Okay. 7.5.
Detroit, 7.5 on the spread, and I'm going to take Josh Downs as well over his receptions. So this is going to be an interesting game. Interesting game. I got a couple Detroit guys on some of my fantasy leagues. I need a big showing, and I think there's going to be points scored in this game, like you were saying. So we'll see how she goes.
I like that.
Lovely. All right. Beautiful. That covers Lions, Colts. Now let's get into a game. Minnesota, Chicago. Jeff, your Vikings. Let's
NFC,
talk about
baby.
these guys. NFC North.
Yeah.
This is where my game pick is going to come from. So,
okay. Ooh, we like that.
This is where my game pick is going to come from, and I'm gonna tell you why. But first, let's start off with you, Jeff. What do you like in this game?
So, I am going to run with the Minnesota money line in this game. It's actually come down a bit. So I know where we're going to go with this, which is a great conversation.
Yes.
But I do like the money line for Minnesota. I think 3.5 on the spread right now, even though this team has been good against the spread, so have the Bears. And I think when we match up this team overall, pound for pound, defense, offense. The defense on both sides of the ball here have been pretty good. I want to say that Minnesota's defense has taken, a step back in recent, but I do think they have the opportunity against a young rookie quarterback to kind of throw him some different looks, take some different options out of his playbook, and kind of just the way that Flores has been kind of running that. I do think that this is an opportunity where Minnesota is just going to come with different looks that Caleb hasn't seen yet, might not, be able to make those adjustments as needed. And we're in Chicago. It's going to be one of those cold games, not necessarily snowy, but it's going to be one of those cold games to fight through. And we haven't seen Caleb just yet in these kind of environments, especially in one of these games that they need to kind of win in order to start setting some of their opportunities right here. So I think the Vikings are going to come away with this. Right now, the money line, I believe current money line is minus 181. It was a little higher at the beginning. So I'm starting to see some value there. And I think that's just the pick to have. I think the Bears, although better in, I would say, coming through a little bit of a stretch in the last little bit, they just haven't been able to put up the points. And that's the biggest thing for me right now. Like if the defense and the defense kind of cancel each other out on this game, who has the better offensive weapons? And I would absolutely say that the Vikings do. On the flip side of that, I believe Keenan Allen is now out, or listed as out, about to be. Definitely questionable. So I think that provides, he just hasn't been anything for this offense. DJ Moore has just been a very fucking, where is he in this offense as well? And like what is the real true look of the Bears offense right now. And in the last few weeks here, week 9, we're putting up 9 points. In week 10, we put up 3 points against the fucking Patriots. I think the Patriots D, Minnesota D probably align just all the same. So I'm not going to necessarily think that the Bears are going to be able to do anything in this game offensively. Better game, obviously. But I don't necessarily see it coming out on this in this week. So that's my bet there. And then on the flip side here for the props, I do think it's just going to be one of those games where it's going to be a passing kind of slate or running, but not Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is not going to be running this fucking ball. And so I just think given the state of the defense, they're not going to have him run. So under 3.5 on his line. And that's where I'm going to sit with this. I like these quarterback props, man. All these
you got the quarterback.
Yeah, wait, there's more.
From like the quarterbacks that don't run the ball at all. I love that. Jeez, we should just release a quarterbacks who don't run parlay here. And stack it up.
I got one over, and this is an under, and wait until later because we're gonna go with another over here. So,
oh man, I love that. All right, let me give my spiel on what's going on here. So that's a valid take. I get it. I did mention prior to the last 3 matchups for the Vikings, since they lost those 2 games to Detroit and the Rams, was the Colts, the Jaguars, and the Titans, in which they won all 3 games, although not the prettiest looking. So 21-13 against the Colts, 12-7 against a Jacksonville team that's just hasn't looked very good. And then 23-13 win against Tennessee, and they just didn't look the same either. And this is where I'm going with this is these last 3 games, they've been without a key player in the offensive tackle, Christian Darrisaw. Now, looking at some of the numbers from this Vikings team, with and without Christian Darrisaw in the lineup, they've gone from points per game, 24 to 18.7. Total QBR has gone from 59 to 51. TD to INT ratio has been 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions with Darrisaw, and Darnold's 5-5 without Darrisaw in the lineup. And then yards per play have gone from 5.7 to 5.2. So when you look at him missing in the lineup, a lot more pressure on Darnold here, and I think that's really screwing with this offense a little bit more, and you're starting to see a dip in the production here. Another thing, too, we talked about that cold weather matchup. You're outside. You're playing a Bears defense that is pretty good, and their pass rush is pretty solid as well. So I expect them to give Darnold a couple problems here, and we got to see how the replacement holds up for Darrisaw in the lineup here. But this is why I like the line of 3.5. Getting that half point is great because it brings us through that key number of 3. And I expect this game to be very much similar to the game they just played last week against Green Bay. And I think this team is going to be scrappy. I think it's going to be close. And I'm going to take the 3.5 points on the Bears side because I think they're going to give Minnesota some problems. I'm not confident with the way that their offense has been running lately. And I do think the Bears are in more of a desperate spot here. They need to win a game. We're checking the box where it's at home because we know Eberflus doesn't win games on the road. So you get a home game in a big spot here. I think the Bears are going to show up, and I think this is going to be a close game. So I'm going to be taking the Bears plus 3.5. And then looking at some of the props here in the lines, you just touched on Keenan Allen, questionable. Sounds like more like we're leaning towards he's not going to play in the game. Mm-hmm. So when I look at this, the Vikings are a little bit weaker in their secondary. I'm going to be rolling with Rome Odunze over receiving yards in this game. If Keenan Allen isn't there, and even if Minnesota scores points, they're going to have to throw the ball. And I think Odunze is going to have a big role in this game. So his line currently right now, it's 44.5. I'm going to take him over on his receiving prop this week. So I'm excited to watch this one, man. I want to see some good football from Caleb and the Bears here. Let's see what they got, man. This is a big spot for this team. So we'll see what happens.
No, absolutely. Yeah, this is it's one of those games that's going to sneak up on you. I think it's within the NFC North as well, it's just one of those kind of just battle me games. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing when you get those divisional rival games. I think that's when we start to see some of these guys really kind of, you play these guys more than you play anybody else. And sometimes you just got to show up, kind of put on a battle. So we'll see.
Absolutely.
I like the takes there. I think what you said about Darisaw as well kind of leads me to believe that my take on the rushing, because I don't think there's going to be some scrambles, but I do think there's going to be an opportunity where he's going to have to get the ball out.
Yeah.
So
pocket breaks down, he's going to have to scramble a little bit there. So I do agree with that. I was going to say the same about Goff on your other take too, because the Colts have a pretty decent pass rush as well. Things break down, quarterback scrambles. All you need is that one run to really get what your average total is. So, all right, beautiful. Let's go on to our next game here on the slate. Let's talk about the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans here quick. So starting off, Houston's going to be getting back Will Anderson on the edge. That's going to be huge. That's going to help them. Tennessee, on the other hand, I think they just placed L'Jarius Sneed on IR, and I can't expect much from this team at this moment. They're just kind of back and forth every week. It's Will Levison here now, and I think this team is just kind of looking towards the future. Houston's kind of putting together a string. They got their guys healthy. They got Nico Collins back, and I think they're going to be able to attack the secondary in Tennessee this week. I don't expect Mixon to necessarily have a massive game like he did. I think we're going to get more yardage here. We're finally going to see some yardage from, Nico Collins and CJ Stroud potentially, because the Titans are a little bit more vulnerable in their secondary versus the rush. So I think when you look at the line, I don't really want to touch anything on this game because Tennessee is an absolute roller coaster. You never know what you're going to get with them. And it's kind of the same with Houston, honestly, too. I don't know what I'm getting from these teams on a week-to-week basis. But when you look at like the spread, Tennessee's only covered, I think they've only covered one total this year, and that was when they won against Miami. Mm-hmm. So they're not even covering spreads right now. Texans are 7.5-point favorites in Tennessee. Texans have covered their last 5 of 7 spreads. Yep. So that's an interesting take when you look at the line. 7.5 doesn't look like a huge total. But like I said, division game, you never know.
One game where the line has been set to 7.5 for the Texans this season. So there is that. The highest that they had was 7.
So that's the highest total they had last week against Dallas, and they covered that easily.
And they covered it. So that's the one thing I will say. I agree. I think the Titans and the game here, you got to take some action. You got to take something. You got to just, can't say nothing.
All right, I'll roll. Fucking hell, I'll roll with Texans minus 7.5.
Beautiful. Lock that shit in because I am also thinking the same way. I'm thinking Texans 7.5. And I do believe that this team is going to be able to kind of make sure that they cover this. I again, to your point, I think the Titans have just been a mess against the spread this season as well, 1-9. I don't expect them to be able to kind of keep up between the Texans offense and the defense here. Again, just one of those games where you have a poor overall team in the Titans between defense and offense. And I just think the Texans are in that situation where they need to start winning games to kind of put themselves out in front.
This is going to be an ugly game, I think.
Yeah. But I like 7.5 as far as it goes for the receptions. I shouldn't say receptions, but you know where I'm going now. Nico Collins on the reception line. I think it's a great matchup here. I do just think overall we're going to see some offense, some throwing. And again, CJ Stroud just needs to have one of these games where you had it last week. You got to have another one here. So let's see that happen. And I think Nico is going to be a big part of this offense kind of coming back to form going forward, especially with Diggs out. So I think it's an absolute must. And I think that's where I'm going to put mine. What about you? Do you have any prop, anything that you're looking at here that makes sense?
So I'm looking at Mixon's, not his rushing yards, his rushing attempts. Now, I do think this game, like the total is set at 40 points. I think just looking by that, Vegas, they don't expect this game to get out of hand or anything. I think this is just going to be an ugly game, and a lot of games played against Tennessee usually turn out that way. So when I look at Mixon's rushing attempts, his last couple of weeks, he had 20 last week against Dallas, 25 the week before against Detroit, 24 against the Jets, 25 against Indy. And you can kind of see the trend here. His line is currently at 21.5. I'm going to take the over on the rushing attempts because I think this game is going to be tighter. And lately, you can see that they've been very reliant on him and his rushing game. So Mixon over 21.5 on the rush attempts. If he hits 20 in Dallas last year or last game, I think you see kind of how that affects when that game was out of hand and he still got 20 rushing attempts.
Yep.
I'm going to take it in this game because it's going to be a little bit closer than last week's matchup.
Couldn't agree more. I think it's going to be one of those games where, I don't know, it's going to be either a split. I sometimes, that line, just because it gets so fucking high with Mixon, it scares me a little bit. Just of how they're using him this season. He's been their fucking workhorse in these games. But the Titans, again, they're just not good on defense this season. And I think that's, as far as it goes, you're going to see that. I do think it's going to be more passing related rather than running, but we'll see how this kind of goes.
Oh, we got Texans 7.5 from my side, and I'm going to take Mixon on the rushing attempts, and then you got Nico. You got Nico on the reception
5.5.
5.5, and then you're taking Texans -7.5.
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Yeah, this could be a favorite week, but then again, the NFL always has other plans for that stuff.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how that plays out. But this could be just like the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game. I think it's going to be identical to that, whereas I think, Texans maybe pull that out, but it will be close. So it could be a trap there with that 7.5 points, but interesting. Now, let's bounce off that one. Let's get into New England, Miami. Safe to say I don't have too many plays for this game. I think the big one here is I like the matchup for Ramondre Stevenson. From a prop perspective, I think he's going to have a nice spot here. With Miami, it's just I think it's a running back game, man. I think you got Achane and then you got Ramondre, and I think these are the guys you want to look at. Achane's clearly been a massive piece of this offense. And he's always going to get his. And I think like Ramondre on the other side, I don't expect Miami to absolutely crush New England. And I think he's going to be a big piece of what they got going on. With Drake May in the lineup, they've been able to move the ball a lot more. And the expectation is obviously New England's not going to be scoring a ton of points. So his lines, like when you look at his total right now, 56.5 rushing yards from Ramondre, I think he's more than capable than hitting that total for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think for me, right now, I think Miami is in absolute. We need to win, and win and win and win and win and win, right? And I think their
like
chances
the Bengals.
are
it's like they can't
absolutely they can't lose. And I think that's the biggest thing for me right now is the Dolphins' mentality has to be that they can't lose. The Patriots are just one game behind them. That's the crazy part in this grand scheme of things. However, I just think given the situation with the way that the spreads for the Patriots have gone this season, the Dolphins haven't been any better, but you can't say that in any concrete, status because of what the situation with Tua was for the majority of this season. In the last 3 games, they have been able to cover their spread. And so I believe in this situation, Dolphins in a absolute must-win scenario need to put up some points. They need to cover this right now. They're already favored at -374 as the winning team. I think they're able to take that to another level this week. They're looking healthier than they've looked in a long while, and they're starting to get that chemistry on offense back. Last week, 34-19, win over the Raiders. They won as well the week before that. So I think this is going to be one of those games where they take it again. The Patriots, again, they just don't have, these big games. They've been kind of, they've definitely just been losing. We know what they are, but I don't expect them.
They've
They
been
did
hanging
go on a
around,
nice,
though.
they went on a nice little run in the 3 games prior to the last one with the Rams, where they were actually able to cover their spread. But if you look at who that's against the Jets, the Titans, and the Bears. So I'm thinking Dolphins, when healthy, they're a whole different team. I think they're going to be able to cover that 7.5 on that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. The other side to this,
a lot of 7.5s this week.
There is 7.5. It's a sneaky Vegas number. I don't know if I fucking love it, you pieces of shit. But
I hate that half point on that 7.
Yeah, the half point on the 7 is definitely the dirtiest number in the game. That being said, I do like overall. He's just a maniac. And this is the greatest part of just betting on football and betting on lunatics that decide that they want to run the ball. And who do you think I'm going to ask to go run the ball this week?
Oh my God, bro.
Tua. Let's go. Let's see
You're
it.
Gonna take the rushing prop on this?
Rushing prop on Tua. 2.5
quarterback
rushing yards. It is the week of the QB rush, and I love it. I think this is an opportunity where, again...
What is it, 0.5?
2.5. 2.5 rush yards.
So we got Jared Goff. We got Goff for 2.5.
Just wait.
Goff for 2.5. And then you got Darnold for what, 1.5?
No, so Darnold 3.5 under
3.5
attempts. All right, so I don't think that Darnold will actually
under rush attempts.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on this with you because I want to laugh at it.
It's just fucking incredible. Yeah. So, and it gets better too.
Over 2.5 rush yards.
Yep. I love it.
Savage.
Yep.
We're taking the most immobile quarterbacks in the league.
We just expect it. No, it's one of those scenarios where, number one, this guy is a fucking nutcase as far as I'm concerned with what he's doing with this. Like he wants to, and that's the biggest thing is everyone is like, oh God, don't do it. Save yourself. He doesn't give a fuck. This guy is he just doesn't care. So he's going to do it. The other side to this. So Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford are the only quarterbacks right now that do not have this rush yard having hit this season. So we like it. Tua and the rest are not even just hit. They hit and they hit. So a couple scenarios. Geno Smith was 8 yards. Tyler Huntley even got fucking 7 yards against the Patriots. CJ Stroud 7 yards. And if you go through the rest of them, Aaron Rodgers the week before in week 3 was 18 yards. Burrow got 15. Wow. Purdy got 11. Lawrence got 13. Mason Rudolph got fucking 19. And Caleb Williams got 15. So I like the look of this. This is why I think it's a sneaky fucking play on these rushing attempts and rush yards for the QBs, but we're going to start picking them off. Little edge here.
Chappy's quarterback rushing parlay coming at you.
QB
man.
rush play, baby.
Love that.
Let's see it.
Now let's get off that game. Let's bounce into Tampa Bay and the Giants here. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off the bye. -6 here. The total is 41. Tampa Bay's getting Mike Evans back. So I think it's safe to say their offense is going to be moving a little bit more. And on the other side of things, you got the Giants who just went through the release of Daniel Jones. We got Tommy Cutlets starting here, Mr. Tommy DeVito.
Where's the Italian?
We're gonna see what we got out of the Giants. Yeah. But I meant he went on a run last year, which was super interesting. It was kind of fun to watch at that time. Neighbors is now questionable with the injury he has, so we don't know yet exactly what's going to be there. I am liking the matchup because the Bucs have been given up, obviously. I think they're 31st in points to the wide receiver position. So I'm definitely rolling with Neighbors if he's playing, but remains to be seen. And on the other side, the Tampa Bay side, I think Mike Evans coming back, his line is a little suppressed right now. So I don't think it's even beyond 50 yards. That's something I'm interested in taking a look at here. Yeah, when we look at it, what is it? Player receiving props. We got Mike Evans 54.5. I think with Mike, you can get that in one catch.
Yeah, you can, and it's just a matter of how healthy he is coming back out of that injury. He's been off for I want to say more than 3-4 weeks, 5 weeks maybe. So
yeah, he's been out since Godwin went out too. They were lost in the same game. That
getting them right back into the game. So that's definitely a one of those things for sure. To keep an eye on. Yeah, I think for me the biggest part of this game is, Bucks are in that situation. They're second right now. They are also in that spot where they need to be putting up some points. They need to get healthy. The biggest thing for me right now is this team is just putting up points. They are winning in their games. They're going over on the total. And so all I see right now is overs on the total for the season. And I think this is another one of those games. You get your offense kind of humming back between the receiving. Baker has just been fantastic in terms of creating offense here. And I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, they've lost in the grand scheme of the last 4 weeks, but they have had a very tough slate here. And they've been the most injured that they've been all season long. So going against the Giants with all of their bullshit and what's happening there, I think the main play, well, actually, I'm going to take 2 plays in this game. I think the 41 going over is going to be hit just because I think the Bucks are going to put up some offensive numbers here. And I think the spread at -6 is also a good number. The Giants are they're not really... the rankings that are happening with the Buccaneers right now is because of the last 4 weeks, and you can't take that as truth. That's the same way I look at the Dolphins game and the same way that I'm looking at this game. The other side to this, that I think you just have to do it, right? Do we just have to do it?
I guess you got to. You just have to do it. Now, I think on my end, I like the over in this game. We talked about Malik Neighbors. I don't know if he's going to play. And Mike Evans, another person that stands out is just the use of Cade Otton. And I think with Mike Evans being back, that's actually going to open up, a little bit more for him because they've been feeding him targets. His line is 4.5 now. That's something to look out for. But the big things that stand out for me is the over in the game. And then depending on if Malik Neighbors plays, I think they took his line off the board. I don't think it's there because they're not sure if he's playing. So we'll see what that is, but I think I'm going to roll with that.
I want to say one more thing about the Buccaneers here and the rushing yards against the Giants here. You can't not do it. You have to do it. You got to sprinkle a little something on Baker Mayfield at 11.5. We got to do it. We got to take Baker Mayfield over 11.5 rushing yards. This is the week of the QB rush line, man. You can't.
You got a 4 QB parlay going here with rush yards?
If you're looking at this and the matchups that we have now, do I have to run through the rushing yards so far that have hit for the Giants? So week 1, Sam Darnold didn't really run. That's okay. We don't expect Sam Darnold to run. I don't expect him to run this week. So that's fine. But Jaden Daniels, week 2, 44 yards. Deshaun Watson, week 3, 26. Jameis, not really getting much of whatever the fuck. He sucks, whatever. Doesn't hit. Dak Prescott also sucks. Didn't hit. Geno Smith, though, 72 fucking yards. Joe Burrow, you remember that run, 55 yards to the house. Russell Wilson, 7 yards. Jaden Daniels, 35. Bryce Young, 30. I like it.
So quarterback
Baker
rushing.
Mayfield.
Okay. What's his line?
Quarterback rushing, 11.5.
11.5 for Baker. All right. That's a beautiful quarterback rushing parlay right there. I love it. Fuck you now.
It's not done yet.
No, wow, we're still going. Love that shit.
Keep it going.
Just really, Chappy with the credibility hit this week if we don't nail this fucking quarterback rushing parlay. So, got our balls on the line here. But let's dive into the Dallas-Washington game.
Let's go.
So we got some injury news here. We got Zach Martin. He's not playing for Dallas. Trayvon Diggs has been ruled out as well.
Yep.
And also, I think Brandon Cooks was supposed to play. He's not playing. This is where you're going to start to see, I think, Dallas is throwing in the towel now. And it kind of is what it is. And fuck it. I mean, it's tank season for them, man. Get a better draft pick. Let's see where they go from there. So, and Washington, they've been kind of on a rough stretch here, and this is going to be a big get right game for Washington. This is in Washington. I think there's going to be some points scored from the Washington side of things. I think when you look at the running back room for Washington, Brian Robinson is a smash, especially against this Dallas defense. He's in a great spot to succeed this week. You going to put Jaden Daniels on your quarterback parlay here, buddy? Yeah, you got the smirk going. Yeah,
without a fucking doubt, is Jaden Daniels rushing line going on this card. Dallas has been atrocious. Nope. It's currently sitting at 40 and a half. So that's a little high. But Jaden Daniels can make this happen. We're going to run with the Jaden Daniels rushing over line just on the Cowboys this season. They have been fucking terrible against the rush from the quarterback position. Wow. CJ Stroud, 26. Jalen Hurts, 56. Kirk Cousins. He actually got fucking minus 11. He sucked. But Brock Purdy, 56. You know all these guys? Brock Purdy? Like, what the fuck? Brock Purdy for 56 yards? We're going to go up a couple lines. Jared Goff, my boy, that's a 2.5 line. He hit it. 5. That's what he got. Justin Fields at 27. Lamar Jackson, who we keep talking about as a comparison to what Jaden Daniels is. He got 14 rush attempts for 87 fucking yards. Jaden Daniels on the line, 40.5. Please, thank you, count it. And what you just said about Washington, I think is going to happen as well. Washington spread. Dallas is just in a fucking, they don't know what they are. They don't know what they're doing. They're dying they're like, take them out to the shed. It might just be Jaden Daniels on the rushing line.
So what was that line? 50? What'd you say? 40?
40 and a half. Yep.
40 and a half. All right. For the people, let's review this. So I'm assuming we're done here with the quarterback rushing props.
We're done.
Okay, good.
That's the line.
Yeah. Now, so we got Chappy's quarterback rushing prop parlay for the weekend. We're going to start with Jared Goff over 2.5 rushing yards, Sam Darnold under rush attempts, Tua over 2.5 rushing yards, Baker over 11.5 rushing yards, and then to finish off, Jaden Daniels against the Cowboys over 40.5 rushing yards.
Beautiful.
So five teamer right there.
I don't even know what it comes out to. All that comes out to is a fucking winner. That's all it comes out to.
I'm going to sprinkle some on just because I want to laugh if this cashes. So we'll see how that goes. But that's a solid play for this week. We'll see if that hits. Now, in terms of the rest of the game, I talked about Brian Robinson. He's a good play. Any rushing against Dallas Cowboys. I think these Commanders are going to get back on track here. Dallas is pretty sold. Not touching any of the Dallas Cowboys lines. Nothing stands out for me. Can't trust that team. But based on the matchup, when you look at the line, what's the line on this game? 10.5 on Washington. A lot of these half pointers and sticky spots.
Yeah, I want that. I want every part of that. I think this is just one of those times where this Washington does what they do, and I think on that Dallas is figuring themselves out. Like they're like Cooper Rush is in like. I just don't think when I look at the spreads that Washington is, covered in the last little bit here as well, I think it's been a bit of a downturn. This is one of those times where I think they just need to kind of, again, put themselves in that position for the season. And I can't see them not doing it against the Cowboys that have just given up so much. I think if you look at the last couple of games for Dallas, like 34-6 in Philly. Houston was 34-10. Yeah, those are two easy covers. It was a little tighter on the other games here, but then go couple back, to week 6, and lo and behold, that Detroit team absolutely fucking destroyed Dallas to set them on this. So,
100%.
This is definitely, I think, a Commanders game to win, and I think they've covered that 10 before in the season. I think they're going to cover this game as well.
Yeah, I got you. I hear you. That's this is just not looking good considering we're taking too many spreads to be covered this week. I just don't like the looks of that.
Sometimes you just
never
have to
works out.
it.
Yeah, I mean,
well, you take them straight,
together,
right? Yeah,
we'll
stack them as a parlay
see.
and see what happens. But I'm on the straight plays, and you gotta run these.
A lot of favorites this week. This is gonna be interesting how this week plays out. But I kind of wanted to touch on some of the later games on the slate here. The Philly and LA Rams game I really wanted to talk about here is the fact that Devontae Smith is missing in this game and how it's such a beautiful matchup for AJ Brown. Are we finally going to get an AJ Brown game, man? Like, it's been a bit of a stretch here where it's just been Saquon and Jalen Hurts on the goal line doing their shit.
Yep.
And anybody that's got the receivers, I mean, Devontae Smith had a good game against Cincy. Now he's kind of doing the Devontae Smith thing, and he's got the lingering injury. He had the down game, the ups and downs with the receiver core, but that's what you get out of such a run-heavy offense like that when you got two talented guys in Hurts and Saquon. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on where this game's going.
So this is definitely, I think, the highlight of the weekend here. Just from an overall, number one, the NFC West is just a fucking, like, holy shit. So the Rams and the implications that this game has is really, really big for their season. And I think that you're seeing that in the totals for the game. Vegas really, really thinks a lot of points are going to be scored here. Current line is 49. But the spread on this game is only at -3 for Philly. So This is where I'm starting to think, there's going to be points. There's going to be tight games. There's going to be Matt Stafford throwing the ball late. And I think that's going to be the biggest part to this game. If the offense can continue to do what they've been doing with the Rams, this is an interesting fucking game. Really and truly. Right now, we got 129 on the line for the Rams and -153 for Philly. This is not going to be an easy game to win on Philly's end. And the Rams have really come on as of late. They've won 4 of their last 5. Now, granted, the teams that they faced have not been the best teams. Between the Patriots, they lost against the Dolphins, Seahawks, Vikings, and the Raiders. But this Eagles team, they've been on a fucking tear. But I like that cover for the Rams here at -3.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because you look at the opponents the Eagles have played on this stretch of wins. Nobody special. No. They beat Washington last week on that Thursday night game. Dallas, who's not Dallas. Jacksonville, Cincy, smoked Cincy. The Giants, Cleveland, just not a lot of teams that have been shown out. And I think it's kind of, this is all right, let's see where the Eagles are at now. Can they cover this spread? Can they show up and beat a pretty decent Rams team here in LA? So that's an interesting spot. I like that. But Philly's defense, I will say, has been getting better and better with each week. That's the one thing I'm worried about.
Yeah, no, this defense is definitely ranked first, I believe, in the league right now. It's definitely on PFF. The offense has been very, very solid as well. As far as it goes, I think the biggest thing for me right now is just the way that, the receiving team, Kyron's finally gotten a little bit of a downturn in his usage because of that. Stafford has, I think you got to credit really that to the receivers being great.
Healthy too.
Yeah, they're healthy for sure, and that's the biggest thing for me is they're healthy. I think the line that I'm looking at, just overall, for a player prop, is actually taking over on Kyron Williams though because of that situation. I think right now, the biggest thing that is going to help them get to that spot in this game is going to be the run game. And then if Stafford has to come through late and start throwing the ball a bit more, this is just one of those situations that I think Kyren Williams has one of those kind of games that creeps up on you. And I think it's just a great play. So that's where I'm heading.
Yeah, from my perspective, don't love that. I don't think a lot of teams have very much success running the ball against Philadelphia, and that defensive line too. So for me, I think it's more you're going to have to rely on a little bit more of the pass catchers. So when I look at the most consistent player on the Rams side of the ball, I'm just looking at Puka Nacua. Like his line 68.5. He's been hitting that pretty much every week with the amount of targets he's been getting. And if Philadelphia is scoring, I think Stafford's going to have to throw the ball here. And I think Nacua is going to hit his over because he's just been the target in that offense. And then on the Philly side of things, I'm going A.J. Brown all day. You got Smitty out against this Rams secondary. This has to be the week A.J. Brown gets a touchdown. This has to be the week. So I'm rolling with A.J. Brown anytime touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. Points have to be scored, right?
Line? Yeah, points have to be scored. So we'll see Philly the over-under 49. It's on that. I kind of side with you on the Rams side of things. I think this is going to be a little bit tighter. But Philly's starting to pick it up. I'll go opposite of you. I'll take Philly, and I'll take the 3 points.
I think that's Philly should be able to do this, right? I think my take is definitely a little offside for the Rams, but I just find this game's going to be tight late, and it's going to be one of those field goal games that kind of decides it. And we'll see this. Philly has just been on an absolute tear, and they've definitely come alive for sure. That being said, I think just the way that Stafford has been going through. Just in the last couple of weeks here as well, he's just been leading, man, and he's been having some great fucking weeks. So we're gonna run with that.
I hear you.
I'm cool to lock that in.
Beautiful. All right, so I think you guys kind of got a little summary of what we're rolling with this week. Unfortunately, we can't get to all the games. We're in a bit of a time crunch today, but appreciate you guys tuning in again. We're going to be bringing you more consistent stuff, and we're trying to build off some of the stats and the data here so we can present you guys with some stuff so that you too can make your own bets and join in on the fun here. And we're going to come back. We're going to stack up some of our plays from this week and see how we fared based on the matchups. But if you guys have any questions, comments, if you got some picks that stand out to you, put them down in the comments for us. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Chappy and Bengals out. We'll see you guys next time.
Easy.